Hello and welcome to the news from Bahrain International. I am Aisha Ibrahim. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa received at his residence in Abu Dhabi the President of the UAE, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. His Majesty and His Highness exchanged friendly talks on the depth of fraternal relations between the two countries and leaders and peoples, and the depth of these relations as well as their keenness to further bolster them to serve development and prosperity in the two countries. His Majesty extended his condolences to the President and Al Nahyan family following the demise of His Highness Sheikh Saeed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, praying to Allah the Almighty to rest his soul in eternal peace. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed thanked His Majesty for his sincere condolences, sympathy and warm sentiments, which reflect the strength of the deep-rooted ties between Bahrain and the UAE and their peoples. The meeting was attended by the representative of His Majesty the King for Humanitarian Work and Youth Affairs and National Security Advisor, His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, and the First Deputy Chairman of the Supreme Council for Youth and Sports, Chairman of the General Sports Authority and President of Bahrain Olympic Committee, His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa, as well as senior officials. From the UAE, His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and the Advisor of Special Affairs at the Ministry of Presidential Affairs Court, Sheikh Mohammed bin Hamdan bin Tahnoon Al Nahyan, were present. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa chaired the weekly cabinet meeting at Gdaybiya Palace. In line with the ongoing cooperation and coordination with the legislative authority to provide integrated housing units and services to Bahraini citizens, His Royal Highness directed an allocation of an additional budget for financing solutions and alternative options for those who have applied for housing units in 2004 and prior. The Cabinet further assigned the Minister of Housing and Urban Planning to announce the details of alternative solutions and options. This follows a review of a memorandum submitted by the Ministerial Committee for Financial and Economic Affairs and Fiscal Balance. The Cabinet commended the efforts of the government authorities led by the Ministry of Interior and the Jafari Endowments Council, as well as the role of heads of matams, supervising committees and volunteers for their cooperation and commitment to ensuring a successful Ashura. The Cabinet followed up on Bahrain's produce stock and its capacity to meet market needs and receive assurance on the availability of various commodities. In this regard, the Cabinet directed the Ministry of Industry and Commerce to assure the sustained availability of commodities to meet market demands. The Cabinet then expressed its condolences to the President of the UAE, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, to the senior members of Al Nahyan royal family and UAE citizens following the passing of the representative of the ruler of Abu Dhabi, His Highness Sheikh Saeed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, noting that their thoughts and prayers are with them during this time. In recognition of the International Youth Day, the Cabinet noted the role of the Supreme Council for Youth and Sports, chaired by the representative of His Majesty the King for Humanitarian Work and Youth Affairs, His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, in supporting Bahrain's youth across various areas. During the meeting, the Cabinet discussed the following memorandums. A memorandum submitted by the Government Executive Committee regarding Bahrain's population census, which showed that the population of Bahrain reached 1,557,182 people at the end of 2022, 1,524,693 people in mid-2022, and 1,577,059 people in mid-2023. And a memorandum submitted by the Ministerial Committee for Social Services regarding labor market indicators for the second quarter of 2023. The indicators revealed that 14,163 citizens were employed until the end of the second quarter of 2023, representing 71% of the annual priority target included within the economic recovery plan of employing 20,000 Bahrainis annually until 2024. The indicators also revealed that 7,237 citizens were trained until the end of the second quarter of 2023, representing 72% of the annual priority target included within the economic recovery plan of training 10,000 Bahrainis annually until 2024. The indicators also showed a 6.3% increase in the average wage of Bahrainis working in the private sector annually. The cabinet then approved the following memorandums. A memorandum submitted by the Ministerial Committee for Legal and Legislative Affairs regarding a memorandum of understanding between Bahrain National Museum and Zayed National Museum. And a memorandum by the Ministerial Committee for Legal and Legislative Affairs regarding the government's response to 6 proposals and 2 draft laws submitted by the Council of Representatives. Finally, the Cabinet noted the following ministerial reports. The report of the Minister of Foreign Affairs on His Majesty the King's representative for Humanitarian Work and Youth Affairs and National Security Advisor, His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa's attendance on behalf of His Majesty the King at the International Conference on Development and Migration. The outcomes of the 18th consultative meeting of the leaders of the GCC and the first Gulf Summit with the Central Asian countries C5. The outcomes of the 3rd strategic dialogue between Bahrain and the USA. And the external participations of the government officials and the visits of foreign delegations to Bahrain. The Representatives Council Speaker Ahmed Al-Msallam praised the royal directives and visions of His Majesty the King in achieving the aspirations of the citizens and the development of the country in light of the comprehensive development process. He expressed thanks and gratitude for the directives issued by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister to allocate an additional budget for financing solutions and alternative options for those who have applied for housing units in 2004 and prior. He added that the directives embodies His Royal Highness a continuous interest in following up on the needs of citizens, especially housing services, which reflects the close and continuous cooperation between the legislative authority and the executive authority. Al-Msallam indicated that the directives contribute to achieving stability and a decent life for Bahraini families. The chairman of the Shura Council, Ali Saleh, affirmed that the government initiatives and programs that support the sustainability and continuity of providing housing and development services consolidate the royal directives of His Majesty the King. He appreciated the generous order of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister to allocate an additional budget to finance solutions and alternative options regarding owners of old housing applications for the year 2004 and earlier. He pointed out that the coordination and continuous consultation between the legislative and executive authorities will remain a fundamental axis and a solid base upon which national achievements and successes are built. Saleh pointed out that the providing housing services and solutions constitute an extension of a long housing process and reflect the integration and cooperation between the various government agencies to implementing complete housing projects in an advanced manner. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Abdul Latif Al-Zayani, participated in the extraordinary meeting of the Council of Foreign Affairs Ministers on the Organization of Islamic Cooperation held virtually, called by Saudi Arabia and Iraq, to discuss the recurrent burning and desecration of copies of the Holy Quran in Denmark and Sweden. The meeting was chaired by Mauritanian Foreign Minister Mohammed Salim Marzouk and was attended by OIC countries' foreign ministers in addition to OIC Secretary General Hussein Taha. Dr. Al-Zayani affirmed that the Islamic world must assume its political and legal responsibility towards preserving the sanctity of the Holy Quran in order to stop these disgraceful practices and ensure that they are not repeated, being inconsistent with all human values, freedom of religion, and the values of tolerance and human coexistence, adding that they violate international norms and laws and ignite hatred, extremism, and violence. He reiterated the kingdom's denunciation of calls for religious hatred by any means and its constant call to promote dialogue, understanding and cooperation among religions, cultures and civilizations as the best means to promote peace and harmony worldwide, as well as spread the values of tolerance and human coexistence. He called on the international community to adopt urgent international legislation and laws that curb the spread of the phenomena of Islamophobia, criminalize the desecration of the Holy Quran and Islamic sanctities, and promote the values of tolerance and coexistence among peoples of different religions, beliefs and cultures. He stressed that Bahrain rejects the exploitation of freedom of opinion and expression by extremist groups or individuals to offend the Islamic religion and discredit the Holy Quran without taking the feelings of 2 billion Muslims around the world into account. The minister urged the international community to consolidate respect for religious rights and freedoms, prevent offenses to all religions and beliefs, as well as religious sanctities and symbols, calling for stepping up constructive cooperation and establishing a culture of peace, tolerance and mutual respect in a way that would enhance security, peace and human coexistence across the world. An implementation of the order of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister to allocate an additional budget for funding alternative solutions and options for older housing applications for the year 2004 and earlier, the Minister of Housing and Urban Planning, Amna Al-Rumayhi, affirmed the keenness on implementing the order. The minister noted that the ministry is currently preparing a timetable to implement the plan to complete older applications as well as possible. On the occasion, the minister expressed thanks and appreciation to His Majesty the King and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister for their support to the social housing sector, hailing the cooperation between the legislative and executive authorities to serve citizens. Al-Rumayhi stated that the application's fulfillment plan includes flexible and diverse options to accelerate the allocation of services. She stated that the first option includes allocating a housing voucher subsidized by funding from a Tasheel program at a value of 40,000 dinars, with the continuation of dispersing the housing allowance to beneficiaries for 2 years from the date of eligibility. The second option provides a residential apartment for their beneficiaries with a financial grant of 3,000 dinars and a 2-year exemption from maintenance fees for common areas at the beneficiaries' unit. The third option grants the beneficiaries the maximum funding for the Tasheel program, which is estimated at 70,000 dinars, supported by a grant of 10,000 dinars. The minister noted that the options for vouchers and apartments will be provided to citizens whose monthly incomes does not exceed 900 dinars, while the third option for facilitating financing will include citizens whose average monthly income ranges from 900 to 1,500 dinars. During a press conference, the launch of the third developed version of the Sigillat system was announced in cooperation between the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, the Information and E-Government Authority, Bahrain Post and Cisco. The Minister of Industry and Commerce, Abdullah Fakhro, affirmed the ministry's keenness to continue developing initiatives that stimulate the economic and commercial sector in light of the comprehensive development march led by His Majesty the King and with the follow-up of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, and in line with the objectives of the Economic Recovery Plan and facilitating the procedures to attract investments to achieve economic growth at all levels. He also affirmed that the developed system uses modern programming techniques to suit various electronic devices in addition to other new services, most notably the automated guide service, which helps investors facilitate procedures to establish their business activities. Fakhro added that the system's speed and performance have been improved by developing the technical infrastructure by migrating the system to a cloud computing environment to increase the speed and effectiveness of the system and ensure the quality of services provided in order to achieve a better experience for investors.
The Ministry of Industry and Commerce, in the presence of a number of business stakeholders in the Kingdom of Bahrain, inaugurated the third edition of the Sigillat system. The system included a package of improvements the most prominent of which was updating the website interface as well as reducing the number of steps to access the service by 50% in order to facilitate the follow-up of transactions and commercial records. Through this e-system, the Kingdom of Bahrain continues to implement the Economic Recovery Plan regarding the registration and licensing of commercial establishments, in addition to the full connection with all the e-systems of relevant government agencies. This advanced system aims to improve the quality of services provided by the Ministry of Industry and Commerce by employing the latest technologies that enable investors to manage their businesses with ease.
The King Hamad Global Center for Peaceful Coexistence launches the King Hamad International Award for Dialogue and Peaceful Coexistence in Los Angeles, California. The inauguration ceremony will be held in the presence of a large number of international personalities. The initiative is considered one of the most important initiatives launched by His Majesty the King to motivate the international community to take further steps that promote and consolidate the values of coexistence, tolerance and dialogue, and as means to support all efforts aimed at resolving conflicts and disputes and addressing all forms of extremism, intolerance, racism and hatred. The food security file in the Kingdom of Bahrain receives great attention from the government headed by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister by adopting and supporting many initiatives. More in this report.
The Kingdom of Bahrain attaches great importance to the issue of food security, especially in light of the conditions that the world has witnessed during the past 3 years, which affected global supply chains, and those conditions posed a threat, especially to countries that depend on importing their basic resources from abroad. The government of the Kingdom of Bahrain, under the directives of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, has been continuing to adopt initiatives that ensure the achievement of food security in the agricultural, animal and marine fields, and increase the volume of the national product to ensure food security and its sustainability. In order to ensure the smooth flow of commodities in the markets, the orders of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister to suspend fees for industrial lands allocated for food storage for a period of 3 months, and to suspend the requirements for markets to obtain the approval of the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, in addition to intensifying inspection campaigns and monitoring prices in the markets, contributed to maintaining food security and ensuring the sustainability of commodities in the markets.
Hotel tourism is one of the most important trends pursued by hotels in the Kingdom of Bahrain, considering the activities and entertainment held therein as attractive factors for tourists. More in this report.
The tourism sector has always been known to be an integral part of the economic process in the Kingdom of Bahrain, as the kingdom attaches great importance to the development of this sector, especially as the hotel sector, which recorded a qualitative leap in the level of services and recreational facilities and resorts, bringing the level of hotels in the Kingdom of Bahrain to a high and important level in terms of tourist attractions, which makes hotels and resorts among the most important tourism components in attracting tourists remarkably. Hotel tourism requires a systematic plan in providing comfort, recreation and entertainment, including sports clubs, events and food of all kinds, in addition to providing health services by qualified specialists. The Kingdom of Bahrain is moving towards launching new projects in the coming years to develop a number of hotels and beach resorts so that the hotel and hospitality sector works to support the national economy and enhance tourist investment opportunities in the Kingdom as a unique tourist destination.
The work of the third edition of the Young Entrepreneur Tech Program was launched, which provides Bahraini youth with comprehensive support and knowledge to support them in the field of technology in a modern way. More in this report.
The third edition of the Young Entrepreneur Tech Program provides Bahraini youth with comprehensive support and knowledge tools to support them in the field of technology for the business community in a modern and sophisticated way. The program includes visits to incubating institutions to explore business opportunities in the digital field and to learn about supporting technical means, in addition to organizing workshops and lectures specialized in project management, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, technology, and cloud computing. The current edition of the program is characterized by the fact that it allows its participants throughout its previous versions to take part in periodic professional activities, to develop their ideas and projects, and other social and voluntary events, to come up with digital solutions to community issues. The program is a great opportunity for the youth to enhance their skills and provide them with the necessary training and practice that prepares them for the labor market of the Kingdom of Bahrain.
The Agriculture and Marine Resources at the Ministry of Municipalities Affairs and Agriculture began lifting the shrimp fishing ban starting today in line with Resolution 18 of 2020 regarding the ban on fishing, trading or selling shrimp during the period from February 1st to July 31st of every year. This decision comes to preserve the marine wealth, which contributes to the development of the sector and the protection of fish stock. The Kingdom of Bahrain legally criminalizes the use of bottom trawls throughout the year, which are the nets usually used in shrimp fishing. The 20th edition of the Youth City 2030 opened today for the first time at the state-of-the-art exhibition World Bahrain in Zallag. The 2023 edition of the Youth City 2023 provides 2,740 training opportunities in various fields, featuring more than 100 training programs professionally designed to meet the needs of young participants. And to speak more about that, we have with us on the phone Ms. Sara Faisal Janahi, who is the Chief of Awards and Competitions. Hello, Ms. Sara. Can you tell us about the opening of the Youth City this year and what it offers?
Hi, good evening. Youth City has opened its doors for its 12th edition for the youth in the country between the ages of 9 to 35 this morning. It's a well-rounded summer program that offers workshops in areas such as leadership, art, media, sports, and science. This year, Youth City 2030 is truly a hub for the youth to exchange experiences, to exchange knowledge with their peers. It's not only workshops in different centers, but we have other activities going on throughout the day where they can, where the youth can meet and exchange, as I said, experiences and knowledge with each other. We have more than 2,700 training opportunities this year with more than 100 programs, as you mentioned earlier, which is a big jump this year. We have many professional certificates and so much more to offer in its 12th edition.
And can you elaborate on the different services the Ministry of Youth Affairs offers to facilitate access to all these outstanding programs?
This time around, Youth City 2030 is bigger, as it is held in the Bahrain Exhibition World in Zallag, where we can hold more programs and activities throughout this month. The ministry this year offers transportation to and from the venue, which is something that we're doing for the first time for the participants. And the programs are accessible to all the youth. We are offering programs with professional certifications, as mentioned, and also we're giving young entrepreneurs the space to showcase their businesses through the youth market, as well as providing opportunities for the youth to volunteer in various fields and gain experiences. This is all these opportunities are for the youth and to set them off, to give them a set of skills, whether they're soft skills or hard skills, for them to be able to enter the workforce and be entrepreneurs or be better at their jobs. So all these opportunities are available for all the youth in Bahrain.
And that was the Chief of Awards and Competitions, Ms. Sarah Faisal Janahi. Thank you for joining us.